Hi all, Lee Varis here with Phototech Tuesday. Each week I'll be bringing you new insights into photography, technology, art, and more. Bobby and I just recently returned from our photo adventure in Venice for Carnival, an absolutely amazing creative experience in a fabulous Italian city of fantasy. Anyway, while I was there, I experimented with a unique creative workflow for ICM, or intentional camera movement. ICM has become quite popular with numerous Facebook groups, newsletters, gallery shows. It's become a significant genre in creative photography. The basic idea is to utilize fairly long shutter speeds with significant camera movement to create soft, dreamy, impressionistic imagery. I've been experimenting with ICM as well as in-camera multiple exposures to explore expressionism in photographic imagery for a while now. I decided to apply ICM to my photography in Venice for Carnival, and I developed a unique strategy for blending multiple ICM captures together in Photoshop to achieve some really interesting results. Let's dig into my workflow and also look at a surprise application for this blending technique. Stick around to the end for the surprise. Okay, so these are my ICM photos. I took a series of photos of this costumed couple here in Venice. This is right next to the Basilica, and just sort of, these are about 1/8 of a second, very violently shaking the camera, and in some cases not shaking as much. Some are a little clearer than others. But anyway, I've collected all of these shots together, and I decided that I'd experiment with blending them together in Photoshop to try and create a more, I don't know, just kind of control the image a little bit and create a little more impressionistic effect. And this is what I ended up with. Now this is pretty interesting, and it takes some interesting layer blending modes, and let's just take a look at that. So here in Lightroom I have all my shots, and you see this one here. This is the final. So what I've done, I'm selecting all of the images. They're all different and they have different levels of blur. Selecting all of them, and then we're just going to kind of right click and go to edit in. And what I'm going to do is open these as layers in Photoshop. So we click on that, open them as layers, and I'm going to go right to Photoshop now. And here, this is what happens. It opens up, you can see the layer stack here, and if we just sort of check through each layer, you can kind of see they're all layered up, but they're all in different positions because I was shaking my camera. I couldn't keep them all in the same place. And certainly photographing on a tripod would not help me at all here because I wanted to get that motion blur. So the idea is to take your layers and start moving them so they line up. And my strategy most of the time is simply to reduce the opacity of a given layer, you know, somewhere around 50% or so. And using the move tool, I will move it until it looks like I get it pretty much in the same place. Okay, so we can see that I have a line here, and you know, anyway, I'm going to do that to all of these layers and eventually end up with my final image, which looks like that. So let's take a look at these layers and how this whole thing was constructed. I'm going to start from the beginning. We're going to go to the first layer here. Okay, so this is the first layer, and I'm using my layer comps panel here. So I've got the first layer. First layer doesn't have any layer mask. It's just the bottom layer, and I kind of picked something that I liked most of the detail in. I thought it was pretty decent. So I add another layer. Let's go to layer 2 here. Now I have the layer mask turned off here. So what I wanted to do initially was hide this line, right? That's the edge of the other layer that in order to line up the figures, I had to move it. So now that edge is kind of annoying there. If I enable the layer mask, you can kind of see that what I've done is I use a gradient in the mask. Let's solo that mask so you can see what that looks like. So here's the mask, and then I kind of took it off some parts of the figure here. You can kind of see using a brush. So that grading at the top hid the edge of the frame there, and so I'm going to go through each one of these things, adding layer by layer. So let's go to layer 3. Now this layer, if we look at it here, I'm in darken mode, right? So if I was in normal mode, all we would see is the blur, right? The blur. This is a very blurry one, but as soon as I apply it in darken mode, the only thing that it's only applying the pixels that can make the underlying layer darker. So it is covering up some of the details in the face. So I need to create a layer mask to hide the portions of this that I don't want darkening the underlying image. So you kind of see I've brushed, I've masked off parts of the figure to reveal more detail, but I've included some interesting things that are making the image darker. Here's the layer mask. Let's just take a look at it. Okay, so quite a bit is hidden, and only these areas surround the figures that are added, that's creating these sort of dark streaks and things. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Here's another layer, again in darken mode with a layer mask. Of course, the layer mask is hiding parts of that are destroying the clarity of the underlying image, but I'm getting more streaks and more interesting kind of things going on. And then I thought I'd like to reinforce the faces, so I had another layer that had some pretty good faces, and you can kind of see it comes in and changes the position a little bit. Let's take a look at how that looks. This is the whole layer, and we've got the layer mask already in there. Let's go to layer 6. Now this layer, this is the high pass sharpen layer. So I've got this image, and I add this high pass sharpen layer. So the way that works is I have this layer in overlay mode. Let's take a look at it in normal mode. So in normal mode, you can kind of see I've run a high pass filter over this, and I'm going to just I'm going to turn that off, and I'll show you how I did that. So we're going to create a new layer from the result of all of these layers. So in order to do that, I hold down the Option or Alt key and select Merge Visible. So then I get a duplicate. This image here is exactly the same as the result of all these different layers. So I'm going to do a hue adjustment on this. Let's do image adjustments, and we'll do, we can just do desaturate, or we can do hue saturation. Let's just desaturate it. Okay, so now I've created it in grayscale, and now the idea is to run a high pass filter over this. So I go to Other, High Pass, and the idea of this filter is to find a setting that gives you kind of a bas relief effect. So the smaller the radius, the tighter the edge and emphasis will be. When we go to something really, really wide, you start getting this sort of bas relief effect. It's also helpful to turn this into a smart object. So before I run that filter, let me show how that's done. So we're going to convert for smart objects, and that allows us to revise this effect after we've applied that filter. So let's go ahead again and run that filter, the high pass. And I found something around here that was a good setting for that. Now, once we change this from normal to overlay, you get this interesting sharpening effect. And if I double click on this high pass, or the smart filters here, double click on the high pass in the smart filters underneath that layer, all the smart filters show up. I can look at this, zoom in a little bit, and revise like how much of an effect, where I feel like I get the maximum kind of sharpening effect. I think something right around in there is good. Okay, so now let's go ahead. I'm going to go to the top layers here. So what I've done with this high pass sharpen, let's turn that off. Let's turn that back on. I'm going to change the blend mode to overlay. And now you can see what I've done is I've duplicated that sharpening layer one more time and then masked it so that I'm just adding extra sharpening into just the figures. Okay, and then my final layer is this vignette, which darkens the edges and creates this little more kind of focused look into the image. So that represents this particular image, and I was mostly using darken because I have dark figures against a lighter background predominantly. Now in this one, this is more, I used lighten because it's a more low-key subject. So let's look. I'm just going to step through the layers here. Here's the bottom layer. I add another layer in darken mode. I believe this is in darken mode. Yeah. This was in darken mode because I wanted to tone back some of all the highlights in the background and then build them up after the fact. So got another darken layer here just to add some darker contrast. And now I start adding my lighten layers. So you can see I'm kind of turning the lights on there. There's a little bit more in the highlights. And then I've got an overlay layer. Let's take a look at what this looks like in normal mode. So in normal mode, this is just a black and white layer that I'm using to add contrast, and I'm doing it at 100% opacity, but I've blocked off a little bit in this layer mask. I blocked off the sharpening that was applied to this section here. So this, if I put it into overlay mode, I create some extra contrast. Overlay is more intense, soft light is less intense, so we'll use that. And then I've got my sharpening layers. So I'm adding little sharpening highlights, additional sharpening highlights. This layer darkens the front floor. And then I decided let's experiment with grain. That's the new grain layer, grain adjustment layer. So I maximize the grain, gives it a little more kind of impressionistic, pointillistic quality. And then a hue saturation layer here to amp the saturation of the figure. And then a curve to set the black point for the final image. Now the other thing that has been interesting for me with this is taking the result, especially of this image, and applying it to AI image generation. I sort of, in essence, capture the style of this particular image and apply it in AI. And let me take a look at those images. Let's turn off this and let's take a look. So now this is like capturing that style of that image and applying it to a prompt. Now the prompt was a walk in the park, but it's taking the style of that image and applying it, and I'm generating these things using AI, but by capturing the visual elements of that image that I created from ICM and the darken blend mode layers. And these are all really pretty interesting. It looks like I have the Pope here walking. So it's captured the red and black and white kind of quality of the style, along with the motion blur and layered effects. And now I can use this style against other AI images. And we'll take a look next week at how I put this together with Midjourney. So all of these images were 100% generated by Midjourney, but by capturing the style of that original photo ICM image that I created. All right. Well, I hope this little tutorial introduced a new way to explore ICM, or intentional camera movement, and maybe got some of you to consider what you can do with AI. Next week, we'll go into more detail on that. I'll show you how I put that all together. But it's an interesting approach to reference images, especially in Midjourney. They have a very unique approach that can be a very powerful way of applying a complex style to image prompts. So stay tuned for more detail on that next week. And until then, keep creating. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you don't miss another Phototech Tuesday. And I'll see you next time. This is our... Come visit us on our website and check out our photo tours, our upcoming photo tours, Neighborhoods of New York. It's a street photo shooting tour, May 3rd through 8th. People and Places of Santa Fe, New Mexico, June 16th through 25th. Nova Scotia, October 1st through 9th. And again, Venice Carnival next year. I've got the web page live, so you can sign up now. That's going to be our swan song year. We're not going to do another public invitation for a Venice Carnival photo tour after this. So do sign up now. And the following year in 2028, we will do another Venice Carnival tour, but only for Venice Carnival alumni, people who've come with us before. So please sign up for our email list to find out about our local workshops and online educational offerings. All right. Bye for now.